What would happen if you didn't have this law? Naturally, like if everyone tomorrow was given equal amounts of wealth,
Okay.
like within a few years, the proportion of wealth belonging to a tiny percentage of people would be about what it is now. Like naturally, without these sort of things, there will be a few rich people who will own most of the land, and there will be a significant underclass. So the society of ancient Israel wasn't as upwardly mobile as, say, the United States today. It wasn't as easy to move up.
Okay.
Like you didn't have high-speed internet, and you couldn't like start blogs and video sharing.
Oh yeah, we just know how fast you're moving up today with that. Wow. Woo! Moving from a garage to a floor.
Hey folks, get rich quick. Get rich quick.
Okay.
Blogs, the path to riches, and the Alexander technique.
Okay.
So, how are you doing after your lesson from Adolfo? Did it transform your week?
Oh yeah, I'm telling you. Amazing.
Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. So poor people in Leviticus 25, which is this week's Torah portion, no reason to feel ashamed, and there's no mention of charity or compassion. You don't take care of people out of your feelings of compassion. You do it out of responsibility. The Torah commands that you have to look after your own. So even during the Great Depression in the United States, it was rare for identifying Jews to go on welfare because Jews, the Jewish community as a whole, kind of took pride of taking care of its own. That's why Jewish society sets up free loan societies where Jews are encouraged to do business with fellow Jews, to employ fellow Jews. Like from the earliest times of the Torah, Jews have taken on this responsibility to look after their own. And I wish that other groups did the same. I mean, there are certain groups where welfare dependency is just rampant. It's just, tell it like it is. And in black life and much of Latino life, welfare dependency is rampant. But like the really smart Asians, the Japanese and the Chinese, they're not like telling their daughters, oh, go out and get pregnant and then you can get AFDC. Like, that's not the way they roll. So it's nice to see some ethnic groups with like pride, but they're not going to go take welfare. Like welfare corrupts, welfare corrodes the soul, and you're getting it from the government. You should be part of a community that looks after each other. So that's pretty much all I've got on the Parashat.
Well, I wanted to get you going on the agriculture part.
Agri-processes?
No, on agriculture. We're talking about like Shemitah and Jubilee. You were on a roll there. We had a theme going. Now,
okay.
Now you can talk about your part of the blog where you mentioned agri-processors. See?
Okay.
You go from, you see how it says segue in? You ruined it. You ruined it because you didn't catch where I was going with this.
Okay, so agri-process. Shalom Mordechai Rubashkin. Like, I don't know, was he a mensch? Was he a bad guy? Like, I don't have a position on that. Do have a position. He got 27 years in prison, where most murderers get like 10. So I think that's a little excessive.
What did he do? What was he found guilty
Well,
of?
he was found guilty of 86 counts of financial fraud, including bank fraud, mail and wire fraud, and money laundering. So you may say, oh, Levi, you should treat white-collar crime just as seriously as you treat violent crime. And I say, would you rather be a victim of violent crime or a victim of white-collar crime? I would rather have someone commit financial fraud on me than shoot me.
What does the Torah say the punishment is for his crimes?
For financial fraud?
Financial fraud.
He'd have to sell his services.
Well, he'd have to
indentured servitude.
Well, wait, hold on, slow down. What does the Torah say about stealing? He essentially, let's say, he stole.
The Torah says don't do it.
Okay, so the Torah tells us that if you steal
and
money,
don't have sex with other men.
If you steal money, you have to return the money,
mm-hmm.
and if you did it like surreptitiously,
mm-hmm.
like behind, so people don't know that it was you,
mm-hmm.
so you were like trying to hide from them, you have to pay them twice.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say like I don't know how much money he stole, right? I don't know what he was convicted of, but let's say like it was like millions or something,
mm-hmm.
right? So he would have to return the money,
mm-hmm.
and then pay whatever it is that he returned on top of it. So let's say I'm just making up numbers here. $1 million, he'd have to pay $2 million, right? Now, if he didn't have the money, then he would have to, what you say, go to the next step, which would be indentured servant and work the money off. work the debt off. But we're not going to get into that. The point is, I talked about this before in prior shows, Torah has no concept of prison, right? The idea of putting a person behind bars in a cage is anti-Torah. That Torah considers that a cruel and unusual punishment. It's inhumane to stick a human being behind bars and let them rot in a cage. That animals belong in cages. Humans do not. Torah tells us there are 3 ways to handle humans. Somebody's got a capital offense, like you mentioned, a violent criminal, kill people. They're capital, they get sentenced to death. Somebody who does something against God that's really bad, like they what did we say before? They curse their parents out or something like that. They get whipped, right? And somebody who steals, white-collar crime, or imports illegal Mexicans over the border to do work, that is pain. You can handle that in civil court. You know what I'm saying? It's something that you can be sued for, and you pay back the money, and you pay with a penalty if you stole surreptitiously. What I see is all of his list of crimes should have been white-collar crimes, as you call them, should have been handled financially, and the guy should not be put behind bars.
I would like to see him receive the same penalty that other people who commit similar crimes receive. I don't see why he should get 10 times the average sentence for these crimes. Now, a lot of bleeding hearts say, oh, this guy had harsh working conditions and didn't pay his laborers very much, and so it's really important that we crack down on this. Look, these people were unskilled laborers. Many of them were illegal immigrants. I would like to see all illegal immigrants shipped back to where they came from. But if you have no skills, life is going to be hard on you. It's not agri-processes that's just taking advantage of your lack of skills. Life is going to be hard on you if you don't have skills. That's why it's so important that the little kiddies who are watching this show don't smoke crack and stay in yeshiva and develop some skills. I'm not ending
don't
the show.
Don't close the show up. I got a lot of show left, baby.
No,
don't close the show.
I'm not closing the show.
Don't close the show.
I'm just saying, kids, don't smoke crack. Definitely stay in yeshiva. Develop some job skills so that you don't end up working in a meatpacking yard. If you don't have job skills, there aren't great paying jobs out there, whether or not there's agri-processors.
What's wrong with working in a... I think that's a proud business.
It's a very hard work, and a lot of people can't handle it, and so they're saying, oh, it's such hard work, and it's only paying, $8, $10 an hour, and this is unskilled labor. You don't get high-paying jobs out there, kiddies, if you don't have skills. So that's why I'm learning to teach Alexander techniques, so I can make the big bucks, and I don't have to work for a meat processing company for $8 an hour.
Okay, can I say a couple things here?
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that's wrong with working in a meat. Thousands of people.
Well, you would never want to do it.
I've worked in a meat packing. I worked in a slaughterhouse.
Yeah, but you were just certifying the kashrut. You weren't killing the animals.
Oh, I didn't. I wasn't doing the shechita. Oh, wait, hold on. I wasn't the shechit, right? But I was doing what's called the Behar panim. Let me talk about it. I worked in a chicken slaughterhouse. Okay.
Not a chicken ranch. You weren't chasing kids.
No, but I worked in a chicken slaughterhouse. The shechit comes in. He shechs several hundred chickens, and they're all just laying there, and we got to drain it of its blood.
Were you draining them with your hands?
Yes.
You were getting your hands in dead chickens.
Okay, let me tell you what I had to do.
That's no job for a Jew, Rabbi.
It has to be done by a Jew because it's what's called Behar panim, and I'll explain. This is very interesting.
Can you give it to a convert?
Okay, can I just please talk and not be talked over? So you have to check the insides of the chicken to make sure that the chicken was kosher, right? There's the bedika that takes place on the shechita, right? You have to check to make sure that the knife.
What does bedika mean?
An inspection. I was a meat inspector for the Jewish people. What? Okay. And the shechita is a kosher slaughtering, right?
So it was good when we had Adolfo here because we had to explain.
Because I explained everything down in basic. Okay, so you have a slaughterhouse, and the slaughterer is a rabbi who did his postdoctorate work in slaughtering. So he's an expert in how to take a knife, which has to be perfectly smooth with no notches, and he's got to strike it through the neck of the animal, whether it's a chicken or a cow, and it has to go through. There's two pipes, There's the windpipe.
Mm-hmm.